The first type of attack that we're going to focus on today is called defamation, which is an attempt to delegitimize elections. The main type of defamation is disinformation, and disinformation has been cued in a way to interfere with election integrity by a number of different actors, most famously by Russia in 2016. Now, social media allows for rapid, targeted, and widespread disinformation to be spread. This was used to great effect in 2016 when Russian ads reached over 1 million Americans, and disinformation was also used to great effect by domestic actors. Disinformation can be very hard to combat. North Carolina State Board of Elections has its own PR and outreach, but it cannot identify and respond to all significant disinformation campaigns. The same goes for fact-checking projects out of newsrooms. The general strategy in fact-checking is to ignore rumors until they rise to the level of significance. Yet significance is an arbitrary measure determined by editors and newsroom gut feel to figure out when a rumor deserves a response. And there are obviously far more rumors on sites like Reddit and Twitter and Facebook that can ever be responded to by a fact-checking newsroom. Research has shown again and again that when fact-checking is done improperly, the story only serves to further a lie, simply by the way that we read and understand reporting. If a lie is repeated, people tend to have that more ingrained in their mind than the fact check itself. There are strategies for effectively disproving a rumor, but playing whack-a-mole on election falsehoods is not a legitimate way to scare at elections. The proper response to defamation is undecided within the media and for election administrators. Carolina Public Press's response will be to proactively cover election threats so our readers can be on the lookout for false information. We will also point them to legitimate sources of information. Teach a man to fish. That's our approach. The threat of defamation from within only highlights the importance of straight shooting from within as well. When county or state election officials play politics with their press releases or release information that is not correct, it undermines their agencies as a trusted source of information. We've seen this very recently with the Iowa caucuses. The lack of transparency around who built the app and how it was managed, how much was paid for it, and the security process of the app and election night reporting just increased public distrust and media scrutiny of the issue. The less we as a public have a trusted source of information, the more likely we are to fall prey to disinformation that feeds into our preconceived notions of what is true. It's a well-hashed method for causing polarization and distrust. That is why Carolina Public Press will also be paying close attention to state and county communications. Defamation comes from more sources than Russian internet troll farms. Perhaps one of the biggest threats to 2020 comes from domestic sources. Donald Trump, for example, has repeated defamed electoral norms, having lied about the reason for his loss to Hillary Clinton in the popular vote, and more significantly, having joked repeatedly about remaining in office even if he loses in 2020 or after his term limits end. Regardless if his statements are backed by any factual action, the mere issuing of those statements delegitimizes the elections, making the results easier to overthrow for a triggered and cued public. That Facebook allows for lies and political ads from candidates and has very weak retroactive enforcement against false information and other ads has already allowed the Trump campaign to spread demonstrably false information. No Democrat has yet followed the same strategy, though that is not to suggest that one will not. The door has been opened, and political parties throughout the history of the United States have shown that they are likely to engage in political expedient tasks. Often one party experiments with something such as gerrymandering, and the other party perfects it. This is not an issue that is partisan. It is simply an issue of the integrity of our election systems. Disinformation will be used by domestic politicians until it's no longer a political expedient. There is really not much media organizations can do other than fact check, if only for the historical record of the general population. It will be voters who send the message that disinformation is not acceptable from domestic politicians, or if politicians who engage in constant disinformation are continued to be elected, voters will show that it is preferred. Other than that, there is very little that election officials or media organizations can do other than try to put out the fires where they appear.